welcome to MLSnet.com's Extra Time. I'm your host, Greg Lalas. My partner in crime here, Shep. Let's take a look at the lineup for this week's show. This week, we're talking about depth. All across the league in MLS, there's a great amount of depth right now, and it's going to be very important this summer with Gold Cup coming up and Copa America coming up after that. Sean Wheelock has a good interview with Michael Parkhurst from the New England Revolution, and we're going to finish up discussing some of the rumors about trades going on around the league. We're going to start off in New York, who had a blazing performance last week in a 3-0 drubbing of Chicago. A lot of that came from depth. They've had a bunch of injuries, a couple of players were missing, especially some big ones, Claudio Reyna, Marcus Shep, and yet they seem to perform at a very high level without them.
Well, Greg, it's about time for this New York Tri-State franchise. It's been many, many years since they've put together a team like this. I think there are a couple of things to consider. First of all, they're the only team in the league, as you know, that has used 2 designated player spots. So Claudio Reyna, Juan Pablo Angel, their salaries combined more than the total roster of 10 teams in the league. But it's just not about money. It's about smart management. But it speaks well for what Bruce Arena has done. He's brought in great complementary players, and they have many players that would be in a starting 11. They're now fighting to get on the field.
Now we got an email from Mike out in New Jersey who asked us, when everybody's healthy, when Shep is healthy, when Reyna comes back, who do you see starting in that midfield? Because Dane Richards, the rookie, is having a great season so far. Vandenberg's back at the left back position, and Dima Kovalenko's on the right. So who do you put in that midfield for New York?
Well, again, back to the point about depth and quality in the league, I think Bruce Arena has an option now. For the first time ever, if he wants to go to an attacking lineup, maybe when he's playing at home, he could play 2 up top. He could play Angel without the door. If he's on the road, wants to play more defensively, can pack the midfield with 5, a 4-5-1, maybe out the doors on the bench. To answer the email question, I think Dane Richards, as great as he's been, he goes to the bench. I think out the door, he's only 17. I believe the guy's going to be a great player, but you don't have to rush him. I think he's going to go to the bench. So I think there'll be 4 in the back, Donovan, Mendez, Park, Hunter Freeman, and then, of course, 5 in the midfield and Angel up top.
So this week, players report for Gold Cup duty. A bunch of MLSers are on the rosters all around CONCACAF. And, some of the teams are going to lose. They're going to be strained and they're going to be tested with their depth. New England loses 3 players. Shep, the question is, how do you deal with these losses? How do you try and replace either the scoring power or the leadership especially?
I don't feel badly for the big teams like New England because I think Stevie Nickel, he's going to get a chance now to get some other guys fighting for spots in the lineup, and he's going to weather the storm. It's going to add to the playing experience guys that haven't been in the starting 11.
So I'd like to see these new guys come in and prove they deserve that shot. Now, one guy who's looking for a shot with the national team is New England's Michael Parkhurst. He doesn't have any caps. Our buddy Sean Wheelock caught up with him.
Michael, you've just been named to the U.S. Gold Cup squad. What does that mean to you personally?
It's quite an honor. Every soccer player, professional soccer player, hopes to play for their national team, and to get that honor, it's a lifetime dream.
Now, you could play for either the U.S. or the Republic of Ireland. Did you ever have any thoughts about maybe holding out for the Republic of Ireland? Was it who rang the phone first, or were you always going to play for the U.S.?
I've always leaned towards the U.S. I always thought that, if the opportunity didn't come, then sure, I'd give Ireland a try. But, the opportunities come knocking, so we'll see what happens.
Last thing I want to ask you about the anticipation now going back to MLS Cup. I mean, how realistic do you think it is? And if you're there, is there anything that you've learned from 05 and 06 that you can raise the trophy?
Well, first of all, I think it's really realistic.
I thought you would say that, actually. Good answer.
Absolutely. As you see how we've started out the season, we expect to get there. Anything less than holding up that trophy is going to be a disappointment for us. We have really high expectations, and hopefully we've learned a little bit from those experiences. We've yet to score a goal in regulation in those games. That's one thing that we really need to concentrate on, is just taking our chances, and hopefully it'll work out. We need a little bit of luck on our side.
Michael, thank you very much for your time. With New England Revolution defender Michael Parkhurst, I'm Sean Wheelock for MLSnet.com.
Thanks, Sean, and you can check the rest of that interview out on MLSnet.com. Now, New England's having a great season, so they should be okay with a little bit of their depth going into this Gold Cup period. However, a couple teams that are really struggling, Shep, right now. Houston, they're going to lose Brian Ching, Ricardo Clark, and Dwayne De Rosario. Chicago, they lose Justin Mapp, pretty much their only creative player going forward. How does a team that's not doing well, how are they going to react to all this Gold Cup?
I don't know, Greg. I think we talked about it before. The big teams like New England, they'll be fine. I think it really hurts the teams you've mentioned. For Houston, without Rosario, Ching, Ricardo Clark, if you Dominic Kinnear, play the clock, manage the game, shorten the field, and try and get through what's going to be a very difficult month.
Yeah, it is going to be a difficult month. Now, a couple guys, maybe Stuart Holden gets in there for Houston. And for Chicago also, there's a strange thing that, they actually get to now play Thiago, who has a lot of skill in the midfield. He's been sitting behind Justin Mapp, and maybe there's some spark that comes in with him, and all of a sudden when Mapp gets back, you can play him somewhere else and you get a little bit more. Now, whether Thiago can really do that, I don't know, and whether Stuart Holden down in Houston can do that, a lot of questions still all around that. But a lot of questions still flying around Los Angeles. They're going to lose Landon Donovan as well as two guys up to Canada. So, here's a team that is just out of the gates, it seems. Now, how do they do this? And a lot of trade rumors going on around Landon Donovan and where he's going to maybe end up.
Greg, the irony of it is really, I think L.A. may be a little bit better having Landon Donovan away for the time being.
Come on.
They've been dysfunctional.
You can't be better without Landon Donovan.
I'm voting they're better without
Really?
Landon Donovan. I think Landon Donovan, Greg, has shown he's a great individual talent. What he has not shown is that he has the ability to make his teammates better. So they're struggling. It'd be good to get Landon away for a little bit and see if they can get on the same page without him.
Well, that might be true. I'd like to see what LA can do without him as well. But, this is a guy who's the best player I think the U.S. has ever produced. I just think you can't not have him on that team and have him. If you have the chance to have him, you have to have him.
Disagree. I think he's a great individual talent, but I've never seen him either with the national team at a World Cup level, in Gold Cup competition. I've never seen him be a complementary player, that catalyst that makes his teammates better. He's a brilliant individual talent. If he wants to go to the next level, he's got to change his game.
All right, so if you trade him, right, what does LA, do you think, what do they need to bring in?
I didn't say trade him. Yes, I did. Trade him. I would trade him. If you look at New York, really, they're the only team in the league that's utilized two designated player spots. Now, it's a little bit tricky with Landon's contractual situation, but I think you can trade him, get a second DP, bring in Zidane. If you don't want to do that, find a way to get, and there are strong rumors that Landon Donovan is on the trading block, get a Carlos Ruiz. That's the type of pure target player that a David Beckham needs.
That's true, and Carlos Ruiz would certainly do that. There's lots of rumors about Carlos maybe being moved out of Dallas, He's a great player. You thought he would be great with Kenny Cooper, but it just hasn't seemed to work out for him.
Yeah, that's weird because you would think, given the physical complements of each other, Kenny Cooper big and strong, Ruiz, sniping around Cooper's leftovers, you'd think that'd be great. But it hasn't worked out, and Dallas certainly could use a central defender. So I think it's great that we're talking about marquee players possibly on the move.
Right, you got all these great big names that are starting to move. It's a measure of respect, I think, for the league that they're able to move these players, a la, Wayne Gretzky being shipped out of Edmonton, these great players, and that makes a big difference. Now, if you have your thoughts on trade rumors going on in this league, don't be afraid to email us at extratime@mlsnet.com, and we'll take a look at some of the things you've given us, and we'll try and get them into the show.
Well, it's your turn, buddy. How about Greg's final thought?
My final thoughts this week are with the Chicago Fire. Dave Sarakin's name was being chanted last week after a 0-0 draw that he should be fired. I'm not going to jump on that bandwagon quite yet. After all, the guy has won 2 U.S. Open Cups and went to the MLS Cup final. However, there are questions about whether he belongs in that position still, and questions whether he's the man who can get them over the hump to beat New England finally in a semifinal round of the playoffs, and whether he can get them back to MLS Cup final. When he did, it was with Bob Bradley's team that he inherited. Now, the team is struggling, and he seems to be feeling the pressure. This is the time when Dave Sarakin needs to step up and get that team to perform. The Fire, they need this, the fans need this, and they deserve better than this.
Well, Greg, you are what your record says you are, and he needs Dave Sarakin to turn it around.
Yeah, they haven't won in 5 games now, and they definitely need to pick it up. That's all we have for Extra Time this week. Join us next week when I'll be here, Shep will be here, and we'll kick it around again.